let's say you bought a Shari Pi and you installed ham VoIP on it and you're ready to get on board with this new ASL3. Well, this is the video for you. So to get started, I bought a Shari Pi a while ago, and actually I didn't even want to put ham VoIP on here. I went straight to ASL3, and there was been a few hiccups at the time that I did it. I get a lot of emails, in the groups IO where people are having issues, and I thought, you know what, it's time for me to update anyways. I'll just go ahead and make a video. So that's where we're at today. So if you've already got a Shari Pi running with ham VoIP on there, get yourself a new SD card. That's probably the best way to go. Leave that ham VoIP installation intact on that SD card, and let's just start with a fresh one. Now I'm going to make the assumption that you are already have your node set up. You've got a node ID assigned to you, and you're familiar with how AllStar works. But to get started, if you go over to allstarlink.org and go to the website, down here on the right-hand side, getting started, what we want to do is go ahead and select imaging a Raspberry Pi. And there's going to be some kind of a pre-installation things that you need to be aware of. Most importantly, the recommended hardware. For this, they recommend a Raspberry Pi 4B or better. At least 4 gigs of RAM and 8 gigs on a Class 10 SD card. Now, there is a set of instructions in here that are pretty detailed. There's some, we'll say, bugaboos, some gotchas, which hopefully we get covered in this video. But to get started, you need to make sure that you've got the Raspberry Pi installer or imager installed on your computer. And then once you do that, you need to also select the latest release image. When you click on that, it'll give you some options. Look at the version number, and you'll want the highest number. As of the recording date, 3.013 is the most recent version. Download that image to your computer. Once you've got that image downloaded, you can go ahead and fire up the Raspberry Pi installer. You're going to want to choose your device. Now, in my case, I'm using a Raspberry Pi 4 main board, so I will select that. For operating system, you're going to come all the way down to the bottom and you're going to select Use Custom. Now, a dialog box is going to open up and you're going to want to select that image that you just downloaded from their repository and hit Open. For storage, you'll want to select that option and select your SD card. Once you have those 3 set, go ahead and select Next. It's going to ask you if you want to apply OS customizations. Go ahead and select Edit Settings. And from there, you're going to want to fill out some information. So make sure set host name is selected, and you're going to need to type in the host name that you want your local Shari Pi to be named. In my case, I'm using Graystar. And remember that you're going to need that to log in and configure it. Next option is set username and password. You want to make sure that's checked and set a username and password. You're also going to want to write this down because this is what you're going to use to log into the web console, and also if you need to SSH into the Raspberry Pi, it's going to use that username and password. Make sure configured wireless LAN is checked. Now, if you're plugging this in directly to your router, then you don't need to worry about this. But if you need to use wireless LAN, make sure that is checked. You'll need to put in your wireless name and the password that's assigned to it. And then down here towards the bottom of that option, wireless LAN country, you need to make sure that that is selected to your appropriate country. Hit the checkbox for set local settings and put your local time zone in and your local keyboard layout. The next tab over is services. You want to make sure that enable SSH is checked and the radial button for use password authentication is also selected. The third tab over is options, and this really has to do with what's going to happen after you finish writing to the disk. You can choose to play a sound, export the media when finished. I think the only one is that you probably want to have turned on is eject media when finished. Otherwise, the rest of them are optional. Once those three are set, you hit save. And then you're going to go back to that original OS customization dialog box. You're going to come over to yes. It is going to give you a warning message that you're about ready to erase the data that's on the SD card. Go ahead and select yes. Now it is doing the writing process. This will take 3 to 5 minutes as it writes and verifies everything. All right, now that it is finished, a new dialog box pops up, says it was successful, and go ahead and hit continue. At this point, you can go ahead and remove the SD card from your computer, and we need to put it in the Raspberry Pi and power it up. Okay, I am seeing activity now on the Raspberry Pi. So what we need to do now is to open up a new page or a new tab and go to https:// and that name that you assigned it. So in my case, it's graystar.local. We're going to hit enter. And the first thing you're going to get is a warning that your connection is not private. And that is okay. It's expected. What you need to do is select advanced and then come down and tell it it's okay to proceed to your device. Okay, so here on the launch pad, we have the web admin portal, and this is where you will go in and configure your Raspberry Pi or AllStar node links, and this is where we'll make connections to the other AllStar nodes. And then there's the link for the manual. All right, so next we need to go to web admin portal. Okay, once you've logged in, you will need to turn on administrative access. You'll see the padlock here, and this web console is running in the limited access mode. You'll want to select turn on administrative access and select close. And this just provides some guardrails to help you out. Most of your configuration will be done here. There's also a terminal mode, which we'll talk about in a second. Reboot command is good, and shut down. If you need to reboot your Raspberry Pi or shut it down, this is where you would do it from. System health here, so you can see if it's up to date, the usage, system information, and node information for the Raspberry Pi. You can see logs here on the left-hand side, storage. If you're having storage issues, you've got access to those here. Down here on the bottom part of this menu are a couple things that are important. Software updates is an important one. Now, this is a very recent version of it, so it's going to go through and check it, and most likely I am going to be fully up to date. But if not, you will see those updates in here, and you probably want to check these on a regular basis. Terminal. Now this is where the Linux portion of the configuration needs to be done. So the first thing that we need to do is go ahead and configure the RF module. So it's sudo space SA 818 dash menu and hit enter. So this is where we're going to configure the RF module for being a hotspot. Now, menu option 1, band VHF, or the other option is UHF. If you'll hit enter, you can select either VHF or UHF, and you do that by using the up-down arrow and the space bar to move your selection. Tab to get to the bottom menu of OK, and you can tab or use the arrow keys to go between those. Bandwidth, the default is wide, and I wouldn't change that unless you need to. Menu option 3 is the receive frequency. Now, in my area, I'm using 446,950, but you will need to select a frequency that's appropriate for your area. Now, because this is a hotspot and a simplex board, both the transmit and the receive frequency are populated with the same information. In the setup document from the AllStar website, squelch value of 1 and volume value of 1 are their defaults. Subaudible tone, if you select that, you can either set the CTCSS or DCS codes. You would select one of those options and hit OK. And then when you did that, options 8 and option 9 become available for you to set those tones. In my case, I am not going to use those. Menu items E, H, and L leave disabled. Menu option P, serial port, leave that as default. If that doesn't work, we have some things that we can look at. And menu option S, connection speed. If you select that, you can down arrow 5 times and select 9600. Hit enter. Tab twice over to update and exit. And what we will see after this menu goes away is hopefully it is communicating with the RF module and programming it with these settings. Okay, so we had a connection error, and this is one of the more common messages that I see in the boards about people having problems. What I want to do is actually reboot the device. So if you go back to the overview and select reboot up at the top, you can select that to no delay and hit reboot, and it's immediately going to reboot the node. Now this will take about 1 minute to 2 minutes for it to process and be ready to connect to. All right, so now that that is back, we want to go back down here to the bottom to terminal. And then let's try the sudo SA818 dash menu again. All right, so our configuration options stayed. The problem is, though, is that now because we've tried writing this, unless we make a change, it's not going to want to allow us to write. So if you go back to serial port, try \dev \serial 0 and hit OK. Now that does give us the option now to update it again. And from there, we're going to go ahead and hit enter, and let's see if it programs the module. Okay, and here on the screen now, we can see that it provided all the information or programmed all the information into the chip, and it updated complete. All right, so now that we've updated the RF module, we just need to go ahead and start programming or setting up the actual AllStar Link itself. So sudo. So type in sudo space ASL dash menu and hit enter. And so option 1 is node settings. Option 1 is AllStar node setup. And it's going to ask us to enter a new node number. So if we actually go to our portal and node settings, you can copy whichever node number you want to set up and paste that in. Hit OK. It's going to ask for the node password. So back in your AllStar portal, you want to highlight your password. You'll move your mouse over it and it'll show up. You can highlight it and then copy it. Take it back over and paste it in. All right. Now, menu option 1 is have duplex with courtesy tones or have duplex without courtesy tones are the two real options for what we're doing here. I select option 1 for the courtesy tones. Option 1 for simple USB. Enter your call sign. And we need to restart asterisk. Okay. All right. So now that asterisk has been restarted, we've got the active simple USB radio device menu situation here. So it's got 60784, which is my node number in there. So if you had multiple USB devices in here, you'd use option 1 to select it. But in this case, we've only got one, so we don't need to worry about that option. Now, something we do need to do before we get started with this is change the CTCSS from, now currently it's set for USB invert. We need to turn that off. So option J, hit enter. We're going to hit option 1 for no, hit enter. And then we're going to type W for right. And that should be taken care of now. So option 2, set RX voice level using display. Now currently it's set for 500. We are going to hit option 2. And what we are looking for, we're going to key up the radio here and we're going to talk. And what we're looking for, this is going to produce a menu that's going to come over here. And we're going to want to see the peaks of this thing to kind of land between the 3K and the 5K markers here. So let's go ahead and do that now. Audio testing, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. And let me do that one more time with my face out of the way. Audio testing, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. So as we could see, the peak of the aerial was right here about the RX voice display. So we want to give it some more volume. So what you do is you hit enter. Now currently it's set for 500, but we can set this anywhere from 0 to 999. So I'm going to go ahead and hit 600 and hit enter. And we're going to have this option again. Audio testing, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. So there was a little bit of addition to that, but not a whole lot. So let's go ahead and hit enter. And let's type in 700 this time. Audio testing, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. So we're peaking up now, and we're getting up to right around the V there. But what we really want to do is get it up a little bit higher. So let's go ahead and do this again and type in 800. Audio testing, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. So that started getting it up here into the lower portion of where we want to see it. So I'm going to do it one more time, and I'm going to do 850. Audio testing, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. Okay, so I think that is good at 850. Now keep in mind, you need to just try these out on your with your setup, and to make sure that it's good and not going to be overpowering, overdriving your system. Now that we have a number set, let's go ahead and hit enter. And this time we want to go ahead and hit enter again. And it's going to take us back to this menu. Now we need to do option 3 and option 4. We'll do one and then the other. But both of these, we need to turn on the parrot or the echo. So what we need to do is select option E, to toggle on echo. And so that should be on now. So let's go to option 3 and hit enter. And same thing, it's set for 500 as its default. And we're going to test it, see how good it sounds, if it's low, if it's high, and make adjustments from there. Audio testing, November Whiskey 9 Foxtrot. So that actually sounds pretty good. We'll just leave it at 500. And then we want to go and do 4 and set it also for 500. And that right there is pretty much all we need to do at this point. So let's go ahead and make sure we hit W to write our settings, and 0 to exit. Now you can go ahead and select option 2 to restart Asterix. So at this point we can hit back and exit main menu and exit to ASL main menu now. Go ahead and select that. Last and final step to this is making sure you reset the password for Allmon. Down towards the bottom, Allmon 3 default login. And so the default combination is Allmon 3 and password, and you don't want that. So there's 3 commands in here that you need to execute. So if you copy the first one and you go back to the terminal and you right click and you select paste, hit enter, and that deletes the password for the Allmon 3 account. The next one is you just want to copy the sudo Allmon 3 - password. And then type in space Allmon 3 and hit enter. Now, what this is going to do is it's now going to say enter the password for Allmon 3. You're going to want to enter a password. In my case, I'm going to paste it in because I've got it saved. And you're going to, once you enter, it's going to ask you to confirm it. Hit enter again. It has now changed it to whatever you have entered in. And then the final command is to do a restart of Allmon. And hit enter. Okay, so that part is actually pretty quick. We are ready to rock and roll. So the next step is to go back to the launch pad and select node links. And in order for me to do anything here, I'm going to need to log in. So what you do is select the login button. Put your username and password in. And we are now able to do two things. So we can now execute commands. And there's a list of pre-populated commands in here. We can do show node status. And if you notice, as you change commands, it actually puts the command in here. And you can add more information to that if needed. But we can execute that command and it's going to come back and it's going to give us information. You know, what's turned on, what's not. We can show link status, execute it. We have no links set up right now. And so with that, we can come over here to the execute linking commands for this node. Let's say we want to choose to connect. So we would select that. We can type in a node number. Now I'm going to put in 43136, which is Jason, Ham Radio 2.0's AllStar node. And I'm going to select yes for permanent. And we're going to hit execute. I'm going to bring the radio up here.
Node 43136 connected to node 60784.
All right, we have successfully connected. So we can close that. And we can see here on the screen now our connection time, our connection's established. And we are connected that way. We can go back to the execute command and we can show link status and hit execute. And we now see that we have a peer connection to Jason's node. Okay, so we can close that and we now are connected. The other option here is kind of nice. View ASL node map for this node. And what we can see here now is that my node 60784 is connected to node 43136 and Radio 2.0, and it's his hub. And from there, he's got N1JUR, Eric. His node is connected. Somebody is connected to Eric's node. Out here, there's a cloud hub that's connected for Whiskey 6, Hotel Echo Radio. And then it looks like they've got some other nodes that are connected to it. So what we've done now is we've created a very large, well, not really large, but a network of AllStar devices that are interconnected now. So hopefully this video helped you out. If you have any questions or comments, please put those down in the comments section below. If you're interested in supporting the channel, I have merch available and I also have memberships. If you liked this content, please hit the like button, share this content with your friends. And until we have an opportunity to meet on the air, I have a video right over here that you might be interested in.